I'm Jacob. I've been a fitness coach since January 2021. Before that, in high school, I won the biggest procrastinator superlative all 4 years. I was very stagnant, did not have any habits, was not very productive. And since then, I've built about 20 pounds of muscle, have a lot of great habits. I'm very productive and very growth minded, much more proud of myself, and have a lot more confidence. Yesterday, I texted all my clients and I asked them, guys, what's the number one biggest challenge that's keeping you stuck, keeping you from getting to the next level and building more muscle, becoming more self confident? And the purpose of today's video is I'm going to break down what their response were, what the general consensus biggest challenge was, and then we're just going to solve that problem on the video. I'm going to take you through my core frameworks on how I think through this problem and how I've worked to solve it. So yeah, basically the general consensus, biggest bottleneck, biggest challenge was discipline, right? About 80% of them mentioned something to do with being disciplined, lacking focus, staying consistent, being accountable longer than 4 to 6 months, kind of feeling motivated to start, but then kind of sticking with it, actually having the faith and trust that it's going to pay off and I will see results, and yeah, hard to keep going. So a lot of very similar answers. And really what we're going to do now is I just want to break down how I've been able to stay incredibly disciplined throughout my fitness journey, throughout my personal growth journey, the kind of strategies and tactics that I think about that help me stay super consistent, and just kind of break down what that means. And hopefully you'll leave the video with a checklist of things that you can actually do to help you become more disciplined starting now. Okay, so first things first, let's just define discipline. Just have it as clear as possible, no ambiguity. I like this definition: the ability to do the same thing over and over. Okay, so you would describe somebody that does the same thing over and over. Oh wow, that's a disciplined person, right? Somebody that couldn't really do the same thing over and over and over, you're like, yeah, you kind of struggle with discipline. Okay, how do you improve on your ability to do the same thing over and over? Okay, well, one thing, this you'll see this a lot. You've probably seen this just from in the general personal growth space, but a lot of people just think discipline is a character trait. You just need to be better. Just be more disciplined. Just do it, right? And it's very emotion based. And for me, I've had that's kind of infuriating, because it's you can kind of think if it is a character trait and I'm not doing it now, well, maybe the problem is me. Maybe I just am not a disciplined person. And if you just kind of write it off like that, I'm just not a disciplined person, you're doing yourself such a disservice. Okay, so for me, it's no. If we can work on improving your ability to do the same thing over and over, that will make you a disciplined person by default. And that's a lot more of an empowering perspective, because it's not as much emotion based and it's just not chunked up into your identity, but it's more reason based, and we can actually come up with actionable strategies to help us do the same thing over and over. That way, therefore, we can become more disciplined. So how do we do that? Well, first thing first, this is a big one: environment and strategy. Okay, so this is a lot of this I've got from Atomic Habits by James Clear, one of my favorite books. I've probably read it over 10 times, because I just honestly, what I do is I just put my books on audiobook, and every time I'm in the car I just listen to it. And this one I've listened to loads and loads of times, because it's just super value packed, really actionable. And I'm just going to give you guys all the sauce right now, basically the best stuff. But one of my favorite chapters in the book is he says, motivation is overrated, environment often matters more. And he kind of attacks this idea of in the personal growth space, people always talk about oh, you just need to be more motivated. You see all the time, if I wanted to start becoming more consistent in the gym, you might default to thinking like, oh, I just need to be better. Like, come on, like, just be better. It's like what he talks about, which I've totally resonates with me, and what I've begun to with my own experience, is like, it's not just about being better, being more motivated, being more disciplined. It's about, a lot of it has to do with your environment. Okay, a lot of it has to do with like fundamental concepts of behavior change, that if we actually have a strategy in place to help us do that thing, that's going to be so much more powerful than just telling ourselves that we need to be better, be more motivated. So the first one, we're just going to get some low-hanging fruit when it comes to environment, right? So think of it, I'm going to actually preface this with a story, okay? So I grew up in Celebration. Celebration is like a little bubble, and I kind of had, a very comfortable, cozy kind of routine, right? I never really had to do anything that hard growing up, so I didn't really have anybody pushing me to like do things like eat healthy, or like go, even like, I guess I like had a job at like Tropical Smoothie, but I didn't really have that much hard things that were expected of me. So I kind of had this very stagnant kind of routine that was associated with my house in Celebration. Okay, I would kind of, there's like this spot on the couch where I would do everything on the spot. Like, I would come home, I remember one time I grabbed a bag of Reese's, like mini Reese's peanut butter cups, and I would sit on the spot on the couch, eat these mini Reese's peanut butter cups, right? I would do my homework in this spot on the couch. So I'd sit, like, if I would always procrastinate, of course, biggest procrastinator, but let's say I had an essay, I would sit on the same spot on the couch, and I would like try to get myself to write this essay. I would watch TV in this same spot, right? I would text from this same spot. I would do everything from this same spot on the couch, right? So I had my environment was, what I'm trying to get at is, this one spot did all these different things, and most of the habits were really bad, right? So it's because my body was so used to doing things like texting, doing things like relaxing, doing things like eating junk food, that if I went to try to like do productive work, my body is so confused in that moment, right? I'm just like wanting to like, it's just confused because it's sitting in the exact same environment where I did all these bad habits. It's like, how are you going to ask me to actually write a philosophy essay, right? And that's probably a big reason why I became the biggest procrastinator, right? It's not that I wasn't super disciplined, it's I had a super shitty strategy. Try to do work in the same spot where you are totally just like being lazy, but I didn't know any better. And I would, you don't really realize this, but a lot of times we have very, we kind of have a routine built for ourselves, right? So you don't really think to change things up unless somebody tells you, kind of like how James Clear told me, and how I'm telling you right now, that like, dang, you got to think about these things. Okay, so all my habits that were associated with my Celebration house were very stagnant kind of habits, right? Didn't work out super consistently, didn't go on runs, didn't eat healthy meals, I didn't read, nothing like that, right? Then I moved to Gainesville, was in a completely new environment, all of a sudden thrown out into a completely different place. And here, when I was kind of starting at square zero, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start going to the gym. So made that a consistent habit. Okay, I'm going to start going to the library. Made that a consistent habit. Okay, I'm going to start eating eggs in the morning. I'm going to start eating a protein shake after. I'm going to start eating salmon. I know where I'm going to go grocery shopping. I know how it fits on my path, right? So it's like, I know where I'm going to read. I know where I'm going to go to the coffee shop. So it's all these new things that you can start to build out because you're not just carrying out the routine of your current environment. Okay, so the craziest thing is, and this is how I know the environment is literally, this is why we're talking about it first, why it's literally so important. Like, I hadn't lived in Celebration since 2019, okay? Now it's 2024, 5 years later, right? I've changed so much, built a ton of muscle, completely different kind of person. But, when I just moved from Gainesville to Tampa, in that 1 month, I had to go back and live at my Celebration house. And even though I've changed so much, all those old habit patterns were really trying to impress on me. I was noticing my productivity was decreasing. I started spending time mindlessly on my phone. I started going to that spot on that couch, kind of gravitating to that spot on the couch. It's crazy. A lot of it is subconscious. Like, those patterns are ingrained into your brain. So that's why, like, when we want to become more disciplined, we want to become better at doing the same thing over and over, we got to think about our environment. We got to think about, hey, right now is my environment enabling some bad habits? And if so, how can I switch things up, switch up my environment? That way I can create more productive patterns. That way my environment will reinforce better habits. That's what we want to aim for. Okay, so there's a couple ways that we can do that. One, like, think about, I gave this example of using this one spot on the couch for like 4 different things, right? That's like a really hard ask on your body, right? So we want to try to delineate different locations with different tasks, right? So I would never read in the same place where I sleep. I never do anything in my bed except sleep. Nothing. Because if I look at my bed, my body associates bed with sleep. Boom. I can't even if I look at my bed, if I was trying to work and I look at my bed, it somehow cues like sleepiness, right? That's why I work like totally facing away. I'm in this little my own little nook. So that's like one example. Like I would never. What's another good one? Trying to think. Like when I try to be very creative, I like to go to the coffee shop where it's more expansive. I'm outside. Like there's kind of like a nice environment where I can like come up with new ideas. When I'm kind of doing like the gritty work, like sending opens, like having more sales conversations, doing client programming where it's a lot more like I just need to lock in. I like to go to my office where I can just kind of have 0 distractions and just get super focused. So that's another example. It's like trying to split things up. Something that you might want to think about is like, where do I have any of those things where I'm trying to ask myself to do multiple things in one specific place, or how can I be smart and try to associate certain locations with certain types of activities. Okay. Another thing we can do low-hanging fruit-wise is like just little one time task that can have huge outsized returns in the future. So like a really good one for me is like just carrying around this water jug, right? Instead of trying to ask myself to refill the same water 6 or 7 times throughout the day, even if it's 3 or 4 times, it's very unlikely that that's just going to happen to line up into your routine where you'll just randomly find time to fill out, fill up your water bottle. Like that's an inconvenience, right? Whereas if I just carry around a water jug, super convenient, because I just have all my water right there, right? Yes, it's like a little bit clunkier, but all the water is there, so I never have to go throughout the day and think about refilling it. I can just drink the whole thing once a day. Another one that I really like is moving your phone charger from next to your bed to like 10 yards away from your bed. Okay, so maybe if you're anything like my past self, maybe you struggled with, like when you first wake up, you kind of like unconsciously grab your phone and like start like scrolling your phone, stuff like that. So when your phone is just 10 yards away, you would be shocked. If you have an alarm on and it's 10 yards away, you'll get up, you'll walk up to the alarm, just like be like, okay, every single time I turn off the alarm, I just hop right in the shower. Boom. So you never really have to worry about, oh, I need to be more disciplined when I wake up. When I see the alarm, I need to be, I need to have good willpower. Turn it off. No using social media. Put it away and get up out of bed. Like, just make it easy for yourself by moving it 10 yards away. Why? The whole idea is we want to create an environment where doing the right thing is easy. And we want to create an environment where doing the wrong thing is hard. So don't make it complicated for yourself where you're put in those situations where you have to have a lot of willpower. Like, I don't put myself in situations where I have to have willpower ever. Like, really, ever. I don't surround myself with people that try to tempt me to do like things like drinking or eating unhealthy or like anything that is contradicting to my goals. I don't surround myself with those kinds of people. I don't ever keep unhealthy food in my fridge or my pantry. I literally, if I showed you my phone, I don't have it on me. My home screen isn't have all the applications. I just have this app. I'll link it in the description if you want to use it, but it basically like reorganizes your home screen to get rid of all the glowing bright apps, and it's just like super simple. So it kind of disengages all those cues of those bad habits. So to kind of finish my story, right? When I went to Celebration, all those bad habits tried to impress on me. Then I moved away again and back in Tampa, new environment, exact same thing happened before. I'm like super productive, super disciplined again. So a lot of it, the problem often isn't you. The problem is just you're not thinking about, do I have a strategy in place to help me with my self-control? Don't make it hard for yourself. Make it easy for yourself. Okay, last thing I'll mention. So this is from Atomic Habits. But behavior change, there's 4 parts of behavior change. There's the cue, the craving, response, reward. So any behavior that you do goes through this process, right? It's like there's a cue, there's a craving, there's a response, there's a reward. So an example that he gives in the book is like you get a text on your phone, right? You have a craving to learn what's in the context of the text, right? So what do? So you pick up your phone, check what the notification was, right? And then you get a reward. Somebody texted you, and you know what I mean? And you got the reward of learning what was in the text. And now, what was the phone? The cue became the phone and the notification, and that sets off this whole process of every single time you probably find that every single time your phone is near you and there's a notification buzzes, you always immediately pull out your phone and check what it is. And that's why. It's because your body has gone through this process. Okay, so what you can do if you want to eliminate a bad habit, instead of just telling yourself, hey, I need to be more disciplined, stop looking at my phone all the time every time I get a notification, how about I just be, this is what some meathead personal growth coaches would say, just be better, just be more disciplined, stop looking at your phone all the time. But what we can actually do is just say, no, like, let's make it so we're going to attack each one of these, right? So to make a good habit, you'll make it, the cue, you want to make it either obvious if you were wanting to set the habit. If you're wanting to eliminate the habit, you make it invisible. Okay, this will make more sense in a second. The craving, you can either make it attractive or unattractive. The response, you can either make it easy or impossible. And the reward, you can either make it satisfying or unsatisfying. Okay, so let's use this same example. Like, let's say a habit you're trying to break is you want to stop looking at your phone all the time. Well, what's one thing that we can do if we want to stop looking at our phone all the time? Well, instead of just trying to be more disciplined, right, trying to get more motivation to just start being more productive, right, which is what we're saying is the normal kind of suggestion, let's just make it invisible. Like, every single time I want to be focused, I just put my phone in the other room. That's why my phone's not on me. Right? It's every time. I found this all the time. Like when I was first starting, trying to be more productive, like every time my phone was on the desk, it was just a distraction. Even if you look at the phone, it creates a cue. That's like, oh, I wonder if there's a notification. So I'm going to pick up my phone and see if there is, right? It's a lot of it is subconscious. So what we can do is just put our phone in the other room. Stop carrying it with us all the time. Okay, if social media apps are distracting you all the time and keeping you from the version of you that you know you could become, just delete the apps. I have like 4 apps downloaded now. And guess what? I don't miss any of the ones that I deleted. Okay, I don't miss Snapchat. I don't miss Twitter. I don't miss any of that stuff. Okay? You would be shocked if you would just take the initiative to shift up your environment. You stop preferring the vices that are holding you back, and you just start creating new preferences, and your new preferences are always more aligned with the version of you that you're trying to become. Okay, so I can't overstate this part, guys. Another thing we can do is make it attractive or unattractive, right? So a lot of this has to do with how you're framing the situation, right? So if you frame using your phone, you're like, you know what, it's not that bad. Like I deserve to get that rest. I work hard. I deserve to be able to just let my mind relax and just unconsciously in a daze just scroll through, not even thinking about anything. If you think that, then that action is framed in an attractive lens. For me, I've framed like mindless scrolling. To me, that is like one of the biggest vices that exist in the world in my mind. That's how I think of unconsciousness, right? Because when I was this guy, that's all I did. Look, I'm literally just scrolling my phone right here, right? And for me, I know that this did not lead to the kind of life that I want to live, and I know what being conscious, right, being productive, being focused, what kind of life that has led to for me, and I know how much better it is than this. And that's why I have a firm stance. I do not have any tolerance for unconsciousness. I do not have any tolerance for mindless scrolling, right? And because I've framed it that way, if I ever find myself subconsciously trying to be unconscious, I immediately try to snap out of it and get right back to it, because to me, I don't want to do something that I find, terrible. You know what I mean? So a lot of it has to do with how you frame it. Right? Another thing we can do is we can make it easy or impossible, right? So this kind of goes hand in hand with the other one in this example, but like we can make it easy to use our phone by, actually the first example would go better here. So like just by like putting our phone in the other room, right? That would be a really good example of making it impossible to use it because it's just in the other room. Whereas, if we kept our phone in our pocket 24/7, and it's super easy to do it, right? And a better example for number one would be like what I was talking about with the cues of the apps. So right, just by using that app blocker, right? If you want to stop using an app, right? Let me show you guys something. If I try to type Chicago Bears news, I get this monkey's face. You know why? Because that was something that I would try to do all the time. And ever since I added that, I don't really struggle with that. It doesn't distract me anymore. It helps me be more disciplined, right? It helps me do the same thing over and over, right? Which is like actually do the work that I need to do and not just distract myself, okay? So it's the little things that you can just do once and you'll have outsized returns going forward. Satisfying and unsatisfying. This one will be a little harder for this example, I think. But for example, this is a bad example, but let's say every single time you found yourself unconsciously using social media. No, this is actually a good example. Every time you unconsciously use social media, you have to text 5 people, say, hey, I just totally unconsciously use social media and let myself down, right? Or you have to text your coach, you have to text Jacob and, make that admission, right? That's not satisfying, right? So behaviors that are rewarded are easy to do again. Behaviors that are punished are, you're likely to stop doing them. So, and let's say, important part for number 4 is it has to be very immediate. So it'd be like you find yourself unconscious. In this example, you find yourself using your phone when you didn't want to be, and you immediately have to like do something that hurts, right? So if it doesn't hurt you to text me because I'm so forgiving, right, then maybe that's not the best option. Maybe a better option would be I have to post on social media something embarrassing or something. I don't know. Or it could be, hey, I'm unconscious. I'm just going to like slap myself on the neck. Maybe that's not the best one either. But just some different, just some different examples we can use. Okay, let's do this for a more practical scenario with the gym. Okay, how can we make the gym inevitable? How can we use strategy, right? Use these behavior change tactics to make the gym easy to stick to, okay? Easy to do over and over. Okay, we're going to break down all 4 different strategies. Okay, 1, how do we make the gym obvious? Okay, how do we make the cue? So we want to think the cue to the gym, the craving of the gym, the response of actually going to the gym, and the reward that we feel from going to the gym. Okay, 1, how do we make it obvious? Well, one that I do is every single day, I just, instead of like when I wake up, I just immediately change into my gym clothes. Like right away. I take a shower and I just change into my gym clothes. Super easy, low-hanging fruit. If you're wearing gym clothes, the chances of you going to the gym are pretty likely. Okay, then if like you just like change, just don't change. If you just wake up and you just like walk around in your pajamas, like what are you doing? Like you're just making it hard for yourself. Right? So just make it easy on yourself. Get ready, wash your face, throw on your gym clothes. Okay, now I'm in a state where the chances of me going to the gym are pretty likely. Right? How do we make it attractive? Okay, this has to do with how do we frame the gym. Well, most people, when they think of the gym, they think of it as a chore, right? They think of like, oh, like this is something I have to do, right? For me, when I think of the gym, I just think of it as, hey, this is an opportunity to make myself proud. This is an opportunity to grow. I don't think about whether I want to or don't want to. I think about how I'm going to feel after. So this is a really cool idea, but you want to be motivated by likes, not by wants. Okay, let me break that down. So wanting is the feeling of desire before you do something, right? So that feeling of desire before you do something is very fleeting. Maybe sometimes you want to go to the gym, maybe sometimes you don't want to go to the gym. So if you're guided by wanting, it's going to be very up and down because you're kind of you're kind of acting based on the wants of the moment. Okay, but liking is the feeling of satisfaction that you feel after you do something, right? So whether you wanted to or not, after you finish the gym, it's very likely that you're going to be feeling good, energized, proud of yourself, right? So if we think about that, like, man, I want to feel that liking feeling. I want to feel proud of myself. I want to feel that feeling of accomplishment. And we think about that compared to thinking about whether we want to or don't, it's going to make it a lot more attractive to go to the gym. Because when I go to the gym, I'm thinking, like, yeah, this is a good opportunity to push myself, make myself proud, get a nice workout in, stick to my commitments. It feels amazing to stick to your commitments, right? So that's what I think about every single day when I wake up and I'm going through my routine. It's like, man, I want to get that good feeling of stacking wins, showing up, making myself proud, right? So what I'm doing when I'm thinking that way is I'm making it attractive. So if you think of work and you think of habits and you think of all the things, all the things that you're trying to do as chores, as some stuff that you have to do, you're making it very unattractive in your mind. It's going to be harder to show up to things that are unattractive. Okay, so we want to be proactive with how we frame these different things that we're trying to stick to help us stick to it. Okay, number 3 is we can make it easy. Okay, so this is why I love optimal hypertrophy, right? Because it just so happens that the most optimal way to build muscle also happens to be very energy efficient And it actually, objectively, because I've done both sides, it's a lot easier. It's less time consuming and you get more results. It's awesome. That's why I freaking love optimal hypertrophy, right? So it's a lot of this is like, I'll kind of break it down. Even if you go to the gym for 5 minutes, like you're make it easy on yourself. Not every single workout needs to be a drenched in sweat, absolutely body screaming. Like, dude, just go. You just go. And as long as you're there, that's the most important thing, okay? And then the cool thing about optimal hypertrophy is you get a lot of rest time in between. It's like at least 2 minutes of rest. So objectively, it's not going to feel super, super hard. It's not going to take forever, okay? And then we can make it satisfying. This is a cool one. This is a really cool one. Buckle up. I hope you're taking notes. Okay, so for number 4, make it satisfying. I'm telling you guys, this is next level. Okay, when you're working out, just like literally anything that is satisfying to do. So for me, it was like taking pre-workout, right? Because I love caffeine, right? So it's like I would take pre-workout and I'm associating pre-workout with the gym. So it makes the gym easier because I'm bundling up these other things that I like and enjoy, right? So you could chew gum while you work out. You could take pre-workout while you work out. Okay, you can go with people that make the experience more fun. You can meet people in the gym, right? If you meet people in the gym and you have friends there and you start to like build a little bit of a group there, it's gonna make going there feel a lot more satisfying, right? So those don't sleep on those little tactics. Okay, what I would recommend if you want to start implementing that, just get a pre-workout. Get a pre-workout. You'll probably like this would be next level if I was gonna do pre-workout. Get pre-workout and sip on it as you work out. Okay, so you're basically associating this energy with the gym and you're tying those two things together. Okay, good stuff, fellas. Let's move on. Okay, so I hope we got this first pillar kind of dialed in, right? Little synopsis. Create an environment that makes doing the right thing easy and create an environment where doing the wrong thing is hard. That's the premise, okay? Environment, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit where we can actually be really strategic to help ourselves not have to have this incredible willpower, okay? You want to make the cues of your good habits obvious, right? You want to use these strategies to our advantage. Okay. Next thing we're going to talk about. This is a big one. Identity/belief. Okay, how does identity and belief tie in to discipline? Okay, I'm going to show you this is my favorite model, and this is how I think of showing up and doing the same thing over and over, okay? I like to think of, and this is how I think of just identity shift in general, okay? So imagine this bucket. Okay, so this is a bucket. Okay, and then this is another bucket. Okay. Let's move this up a little bit. Okay. So let's say this was gym goer. This is the gym goer bucket. And this is not a gym goer. Okay. Okay. Actually, we're going to make this not a gym goer. Okay. So let's say you haven't been going to the gym for a while, right? All right, I'm just being a stickler. Okay. Right? Let's say you haven't been going to the gym in a while, right? Let's say you've been kind of on and off, never super consistent. Maybe you've had spurts here and there where you've been in the gym, but for the most part, you haven't been super, super consistent. Okay, so you're not. So what I like to think is imagine all these little circles. Okay, every single time you didn't go to the gym, every single week you didn't go to the gym, every single day you didn't go to the gym. Okay, imagine it was like you were dropping a little golf ball in this bucket, right? So it's like, maybe one day you were like, yeah, you know what, maybe I'll go to the gym. And then like you just kind of stayed in, played video games, watched Netflix, right? So what you did that day, metaphorically, is you took a golf ball and you walked over to not a gym goer and you dropped the golf ball right in the bucket. Okay, and depending on how long you've been stagnant, you might have a bunch of votes in here. Okay, so when I was this guy and I procrastinated every day, I won the biggest procrastinator award all 4 years. At one time I had 12 zeros in the grade book, and I was still not doing my work. I was just playing chess or something, or Sudoku, trying to distract myself. I had all these votes in the procrastinator bucket, in the I'm not a growth-minded person bucket, in the I'm not a productive person bucket, in the I don't like to care bucket, in the I don't try bucket, right? So the more times you did it, the more votes that you have. Okay, now let's say we're trying to create this identity shift, right? Let's say you just hopped in the program, or you're about to hop in, and we're about to start working together, and you're like, you know what? I'm not a gym goer. I've dropped so many golf balls in this bucket, but like I see your story, Jake. Like I see like how becoming a gym goer has been really powerful for you, and I want to make that identity shift, but I don't know if I can do it. Like I don't know if I'm capable. Like I've never been a gym goer, right? So here's how I want to frame this to help give you more mental clarity on what this identity shift actually looks like. Okay, so right now you might have a bunch of golf balls in the not a gym goer bucket, and we want to become a gym goer, right? So let's say we have all the tools in place. You have your program, you have your app, you have accountability, you have support. You know exactly what you're doing. You're knowing how much you're doing. You're knowing how many sets, reps, how much rest time, exactly how to do the movements. You got everything in your corner, and you're like, okay, I just got to do it. Okay. At that point, you show up the first week, and guess what you do? You drop a golf ball in this bucket, and you go for the first time. I'm a gym goer, right? Guess what? You're still way outnumbered. So you're not just going to become a gym goer right away, okay? Because the evidence is still proving otherwise. But if you show up for a week, right, now you got a few golf balls in here, right? And then you show up for another week, and now you got a few more, right? And then another, and then another, okay? And then you just keep on showing up. You just keep doing it. Right, we have all these strategies in place over here that we use to help us do it, right? And now we just carry out the script. We just keep on making it. We just keep on showing up. We just keep on showing up. Eventually, for me, like I can't give an exact timeline of when. It depends on like how many votes you had and how many you didn't. But eventually, at some point, guess what? All the evidence is in your favor. At some point, all the golf balls are just over here in the gym goer bucket. And guess what? At that point, you just are a gym goer. Okay, and it's easy to do the things that reinforce who you believe yourself to be. Super easy. Right? It's easy for me to work on my business because I believe I'm a business owner. It's easy for me to go to the gym because I believe I'm a gym goer. It's easy for me to go read because I believe I'm a reader. It's easy for me to eat healthy food because I believe that I'm a fueled, nutritious person, right? So here's the whole idea is like we're trying to create this identity shift. A lot of it just has to do with getting enough votes into this ballot, getting enough golf balls into this bucket. And at some point, the evidence is the evidence. The proof is the proof, and you just are a gym goer. Okay, let's say you've been going to the gym and then you just kind of like be like, you know what, I'm getting kind of comfortable. I got some good results. Like I'm going to start, maybe kind of like spending some more time just like hanging out with my friends instead of going to the gym. I'm just kind of put it off. Well, guess what? Every single time you do that, and you skip the gym, even for me, if I all of a sudden for the next 3 weeks just started not showing up to the gym, it wouldn't take that long for me to just not become a gym goer anymore. Can you imagine that? Jacob Graham fit, works out all the time, not a gym goer? What do you mean? Yeah. If I didn't have the proof that I was, then I wouldn't. Okay, so it's important is you got to think first on what kind of person do I want to become, right? Like when I think about the best version of Jacob, right? I think, hey, what kind of identity does this person have, right? Well, I know he's a gym goer. Okay, I know he's a reader. I know he's a business owner. Right? I know he's a family man. I know he's like a loving companion. Right? I know he's a great friend. I know he's a nutritious, fueled eater. Right? I know he's a provider of value. Right? So I've done a lot of work trying to envision who do I want to become? What do I, like, I don't want to become a CrossFitter. I don't want to become an actor. I don't want to become a comedian. There's a lot of I don't want to become a tennis player. Right? I want to become a philosopher. And I want to become an exercise physiologist. That's about it. Because if you try to do like a million things in your identity, you're just like confusing the crap out of yourself. Like one day you're like, okay, I guess I'm a gym goer, and then the next day you're like, well, I stopped going to the gym because I wanted to start studying more, so I guess I'm a studious person. Well, it's like, okay, well, I'm spending too much time. I'm not spending enough time with my family. I guess I'm a family man. So you got to think about how you're allocating your golf balls because you only have so many hours in the day. It's like I'm 23 years old. Right? I know I have a ton of votes for the gym goer. I know that will never. I've got that for me. I like to think of each of these like they're an achievement in a video game, right? And like I'm trying to achieve each of these, right? And I know I've got this one down pat. I know I've got reader down pat, right? This is the one that is freaking hard. Okay, being a business owner, I've been working at this, trying to get this as a part of my identity, right? For years, right? Like for me, the gym kind of came kind of naturally. It didn't take me that long for me to get it in my identity. For me to become like a prosperous business owner, like a very successful business owner, something I've been working at since January of 2022, and it's still hard, right? So for me, the reason why I can empathize with people that struggle to go to the gym and make the gym a part of their identity is because I know how hard it's been for me to make entrepreneurship a part of my identity. Right? So I'll never like just say, oh, it's just, why can't you just do it the gym as easy as I can do it? Like, dude, I know this stuff is hard. You need the strategies. You need the plan. Like, you need the mental clarity to be able to create lasting identity shift, especially when it doesn't come super naturally to you. Right? I know that in the next 30 years, I'm going to have achieved all of these, and it's going to be amazing, right? It takes a little time because you got to cast all the votes, and you can't cheat reality. You have to really take your time and do these the right way. Okay, so this ties in. This is how I think of identity shift, okay? But now I want to kind of talk a little bit about belief, right? So how do I think of belief? Okay, so imagine this version that I believe that I'm becoming, right? Let's just call this, I'm going to kind of make this smaller for the sake of optics, right? So imagine over here, right? So this is the best version of Jacob, right? Okay, what I'm about to show you, I learned this from my mentor, Dan, and this was like a really, really cool idea that I learned that honestly gave me a lot of mental clarity. Like this kind of stuff that gives you mental clarity, Like this is the stuff that people don't talk about that really is the difference maker, right? Because it's like when you see stuff like this, you're like, oh, this makes sense. I can do it. And that breaks a lot of beliefs, and that can actually like help you actually change your life. Like not just talk about like mystical crazy stuff. Like no, like this is the stuff like you gotta know. You gotta know like how this stuff actually works. Right? But this is one thing I learned. He said vision, right? So imagine you gotta like how I have this for me. You gotta have at least some kind of general some general plan of who you're trying to become, right? Like if you spend all this work becoming a gym goer, for example, and let's say if you project it out and you realize like, man, does the best version of me go to the gym? Maybe he doesn't, right? Maybe if you're watching this and maybe you realize, man, the best version of me actually doesn't even like the gym. He actually just goes rock climbing. Dude, then go rock climb. Like, you know, you want to cast votes that are aligned with the best version of you. If the best version of you is muscular, then gym going is going to be the best bet because it's going to be really hard to build muscle doing, rock climbing. If the best version of you does want to be muscular, then you're going to want to do optimal hypertrophy because, like, for example, if you did CrossFit but you're trying to be muscular, it's going to be so freaking exhausting. Like, you also want to do it in a way that is going to help you cast the votes, right, by helping us use these strategies. And that's what optimal hypertrophy does, baby. But yeah, so you want to get clear on this for you. So literally just like, for me, what I've done is I like to just find a quiet spot, and you can start this any way you want. I have a client, Vincent, who just uses his phone and he records himself speaking into the phone, and he's like, hey, this is the kind of person I want to become, and he speaks it out that way because it helps him get more clarity. I have a client, Nate, who on the app, he just writes one word every single day. There's like a little habit tracker. It's like connect your vision, and he writes like 1 or 2 words. He's like, I want to be, never fat again. That was one thing he wrote. And then he was like, oh no, he wrote never going back to fat. And then one time he wrote like more confidence, or like, has a wife, stuff like that. And then when he reads it all the time, he's basically speaking into existence his aspired identity. You want to know what your aspired identity, the identity that you aspire to possess, that you aspire to achieve. Okay? So think about this for you. That's the vision. Okay, whenever I talk about vision, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, there's nothing mystical about it. There's nothing supernatural about it. I'm sorry, it's not. I tried to consider if it was. It's literally just this. It's just having a crystal clarity on who you're trying to become, and a clear picture of what that person looks like and what that kind of person identifies himself as. Okay? Okay. Step number 2 is you have to actually believe in this vision. Okay. So like when I tell you that I totally wholeheartedly believe that I'm going to achieve this in my future, right? Why can I say that with so much conviction? Right? There's a couple things. So like when you think like fundamentally, the more vivid something is, the easier it is to believe, right? So it's like if I was literally like looking at a chair, right? I could wholeheartedly believe that the chair is there. I'm looking at it, right? Now, if you ask me to believe in like unicorns or something, I've never seen a unicorn, right? It's like it's really hard to believe in something that is like totally intangible. You can't see, right? You don't know how it feels. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know what color it is, right? It's very hard to believe. So this is why one of my favorite habits is connecting to my vision. Every time I connect to my vision, I'm trying to honestly, like what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to strengthen my. I'm trying to get more clarity on what this is. I know the more crystal clarity I have on what this version of me looks like, the easier it's going to be to believe in it. Right? So you would be surprised how much clarity I've come to gain on what the best version of Jacob looks like. Right? I know exactly the shape of the optimized island. Right? I know where my villa is located on the hotel. Like I can tell you the optimized island, for those of you that don't know, this is what I'm doing all this for, right? I want to grow the business so that one day I can create this huge island where there's like these villas, there's like this town center, and basically all my clients, all of you guys can come to the island and we can just grow, work out, be happy, spend time together, drink coffee, eat healthy food, go in the pool, go on the beach, and just be fit, just be happy, just be tanned, and just enjoy life. Bring our wives, bring our family, right? That's the optimized island. Okay. So, you got so fired up. So, like, if you would be shocked how much clarity I have on what this island looks like. I know exactly the layout of my house in the island. I walk in, right? The dining room is like to my left. I'll go over to the right. There's like a hallway, right? It kind of wraps around the side of the house. There's like a big glass window, like around on the side, overlooking the ocean and the town center, right? There's like paintings on the wall. I know in the office, I know what those is on those paintings. I go in the office, I know exactly what's on those paintings. I know the structure of the office. You look to the right, there's like a long table. All the walls are glass. In like the back left, there's 2 chairs. There's like a little library, right? There's like a little table, right? There's like a little recliner basically overlooking the office, and that's where my future self writes philosophy. Crazy, right? So I've envisioned this with so much detail that I can't not believe it. I've literally put myself in this room. I've had actual dialogue back and forth with my future self. That it's like this version of me at this point, it's like I could feel it. I know what it smells like. I know what it looks like. I know what the grass feels like under my feet. It's easier to believe in something the more clarity that you have on it. Okay? And then the last component is time. Okay, so it's any time that I do an action that leads me towards this person, it strengthens my belief, right? So if I think about this, I have clarity, but then let's say I just stayed in my room and just like ate donuts for an entire day. I would feel like such a phony. I would literally, like, I couldn't even believe that this would be coming true if I did something that incongruent. Okay, so the whole idea is we want to take actions that reinforce our belief of our vision. Okay, and to the extent that we can, for 100% of the time, always take actions that reinforce our belief in our vision, according to Dan, my coach, he said that we'll actually pull it into our reality. Okay, he's already pulled his vision into reality. I'm young. I still have a long way to go, but what I will say, some of the things that I put on my vision board have already come true. I never even met Chris Beardsley, and I put on my vision board that I wanted to learn from him. Now I've taken his mentorship twice and I plan to continue taking it from him all the time. Right? So let's say, for example, I made this vision, right? I knew I wanted to be an exercise physiologist. I knew I wanted to learn from Chris Beardsley. And let's say all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I don't want to learn from Chris. It's kind of hard. I'm just going to go do something easier. My brain and my body wouldn't let me do that because that's contradicting something that I know the best version of me does. So it's easy to stay on path when you have clarity on what this person looks like and who you're becoming. Okay. Hold on real quick. Sorry, I just had a thought pop in my brain. Okay. Anyways, yeah, so vision, belief, time, right? To the extent that you can 100% of the time believe in your vision, it will become true. according to Dan. And I do believe that this is true, and I really do believe in this. So I like to use this kind of picture. This gives me even more mental clarity on this. So imagine this is like a campfire. Okay. So here's like some logs. Okay. Let me move this. Okay. Right, so I like to think of my belief and my vision like it's a campfire. Kind of like this. Oops. Okay. Right? So every single day, every single action, every single vote that we cast, every golf ball that we drop is either going to be one of two things. It's either going to be a stick that we can add to our fire, or it's going to be a bucket of water that we pour on our fire. Pretend this was blue. Right? So we want to cast votes that are aligned with our aspired identity. Because if we don't, if we tell ourselves that we want to become this person, but we keep casting votes, we keep dropping golf balls in the bucket that is the opposite of the person we're trying to become, all we're doing is just dropping more and more water on our fire. Okay? And I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not saying that you can never, ever, ever drip any water on your fire. I drip water on my fire all the time. Well, I try my best not to, but I'm telling you, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I still will have a moment where I'm a little bit unconscious, right? The whole goal is when you drip a little bit of water on your fire and your belief in your vision shrinks a little bit, that's when you want to go be like, Noah, it's time to go find some sticks. I got to hop right back because I got to keep building my fire, right? Don't let one bad mistake burn you twice, 3 times, 4 times, right? Bounce back and keep finding those sticks. Okay, hope that helps. So like to answer like Quinn, right? He said it's a bit philosophical, but faith/trust that my habits will pay off is the key to consistency and discipline. But when you don't have that faith, it's easy to slip and not do what you should do. Okay, here's what you can't do. You can't just snap your fingers and create faith. Okay, if you want to have faith in your vision, Quinn, you got to get clear on the version of you you're trying to become, and you got to start taking actions that are aligned with that version of you. That way you can start adding sticks to your fire, and then the faith will build. Okay. And the very last pillar is going to sound crazy, but it is really important. I'll tell you guys why. It's philosophy. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You're just like a nerd. Okay, there's nothing nerdy about philosophy, guys. Like, when you think of the word philosophy, it sounds so complicated because, like, you just think that it's, like, irrelevant. Like, oh, it's just philosophy. Like, it's just these statues of, like, people doing this. Philosophy is not that. Philosophy is super important. Actually, philosophy is important to everyone, including you watching this. You live by a philosophy. Everyone in the world lives by a philosophy. It's inescapable. And if you say, nah, I just reject that, by you saying that is a philosophy. Okay, so all a philosophy is an attitude held by a person that acts as a guiding principle for behavior. Okay, so you've got to think about what kind of fundamental attitude do I want to hold towards life. Okay, and the reason why I'm so passionate about this, guys, is because when I was this guy, my general attitude towards life was I just want to go with the flow, just avoid pain, be comfortable, just try to pursue pleasure, and just try to, that was my philosophy. I literally identified myself. I was like, I don't like to think too much. I'm just go with the flow. Like, stop overthinking it. That was my philosophy. I'm telling you, that's because I had that outlook on life. That was what led to me not wanting to take initiative, not wanting to hire coaches, seek help, be more productive, right? And then when I'm going to tell you guys a crazy life-changing moment. Okay, I was 19 years old. I was in the biggest procrastinator, not really caring about the world, not really caring about life. Right? I guess you would say I don't know, about every single branch of philosophy, but I guess I was more generally like nihilistic, like just nothing like really mattered, right? And then when I was probably like hedonistic. So hedonism is like, you just like kind of pursue pleasure, and like whatever brings you pleasure is good, right? And like nihilism, I guess is like not I don't know exactly. I'm not gonna misquote. So, I know my philosophy that I believe extraordinarily well, right? And eventually, when I'm gonna become a philosopher, one day I'm gonna have to learn all the other branches really well too, so I could have these conversations with more detail. But I'm just gonna finish my story. So when I was 19, and I read this book, I was just kind of reading. I just started like reading. I read I read Animal Farm. I read 1984. I like these dystopian books because, they actually made you think a little bit, right? And I kind of was like, like I kind of like, I hadn't done a lot of thinking in my life. Definitely didn't, right? The only thinking I did was which Juice WRLD song am I gonna play, and which am I gonna play Madden draft, like MUT draft or Ultimate Team. That was all I was thinking about, right? Am I gonna play Fortnite or Madden, right? But then I was like, you know what? I'm tired of feeling stagnant. I'm tired of not feeling like I'm not living up to my potential and like who I know I could be. And I just started, at least, like, I don't know, I was probably just looking for something to just give me something. And that's why I started reading, right? And I read these books, and like nothing was really hitting. And I read this book called The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand, and it literally blew my freaking hair back. Okay, there's this character named Howard Rourke in The Fountainhead who loves his work. He's an architect, and he was in a culture where all the architects were trying to put him in a box and tell him that he needs to design buildings like the ancient times. He needs to design buildings like Greek architecture. And he was like, you know what? No, I actually love my work. I'm going to design these beautiful, modern, innovative buildings. And he took pride in his work. He loved his work. And he was a man of unshakable integrity. And he loved life. He loved values. He loved giving his best. He loved integrity. He loved focusing his mind, right? All these things that I've come to try to, replicate in my own life, because it was that inspiring. It left that much of an impression on me, right? It was just so inspiring to see this person who just loved the world and just took pride in who he was and just achieved his highest potential and won. He finished the story, and he came out on top. He went through the struggle. He struggled to fight for his values, and he won, and it was so inspiring. I read the book twice. I read everything that Ayn Rand had to say, and I adopted that philosophy that I want to be somebody that strives to become the best version of himself, that strives to achieve his values. I don't want to be somebody that goes with the flow, right? No matter how much you know about this, no matter how much you know about this, no matter how much you know about this, if you're not somebody that actually wants to become the best version of themselves, if you're not actually somebody that prescribes to a philosophy that their attitude towards life is one of empowerment, they actually believe in themselves, they actually think, man, human beings are capable beings, capable of achieving great things, of creating in the world, of providing value to others and making a better world and creating new ideas into the world, right? That's the kind of philosophy that I want to live by, and I've become so much happier living by. I mean, that's what when you look at my Instagram on social media, that's what I'm normally talking about. Is I'm just trying to be a representative of this code of like just giving yourself the moral permission to be all that you're capable of becoming, and just filling your cup so much that your cup just overflows and you can't help but just spread value to others on your journey up. Okay, so if you haven't given yourself the permission to just be the best version of you and just treat life through an empowering lens and stop being the victim, stop being stagnant, and start being the creator, start being the artist, start seeing life as a canvas. And this is your opportunity to start writing your story, becoming the person that you're capable of becoming. You could become anyone that you want. Just choose it. Just choose it. Just write it out. and then believe in it, and then take actions that reinforce that belief. Cast the right votes. I promise you can transform just like I did. Okay, that's it, guys. That's it. Environment, identity, philosophy, and that's the key to how to be disciplined, how to do the same thing over and over and over. I hope that helps. If you want help with this, like honestly, I'll just leave a link to my calendar. Just go ahead, book a call with me, and we can work on this one-on-one together to implement these strategies into your life. This is exactly what I do with my clients. I've serviced over 3,000 personal training sessions at this point, right? I've served over 200 clients. I help career-driven men build muscle and create self-confidence. And if you could see this working for you and you want to implement this for exactly you in your life and customize it to you, I'm on board. I'll roll up my sleeves and do this with you. This is what I love, and I want to help you change your life if you're on board. So book in a call, and I'll see you there.